I got something I need to show you. This is not the time. This is the time. This clock and this clock earlier today were the same time. And now this one is on time. Oh, this one is 3.5, 4 minutes past. Or 4 minutes slow. Why? Oh. So a week and a half ago, my car broke down in the parking lot of a hospice center. Now, I wasn't there visiting anybody, thankfully. I just was able to coast in there. See? Hospice. Love it. Love it. But it just felt very appropriate to break down in the parking lot of a hospice. So the week wasn't all bad, thankfully. Car was only out of commission for a couple days, and by the time we got it in, I think it was fixed that day. More money than I like to have spent. Such is life. Cars are just giant holes in the pavement that you throw money into, but here in America, especially the Midwest, they're needed. There's something else I've been wanting to talk about. It's a bit nerdy, but I want to talk about it. So the Star Wars Andor show on Disney+. Recently, in one of the episodes, we have a character show up that just makes me happy. I'll explain why. Hang on. So, at the beginning of the episode, this guy shows up. And I love it that he's there. That character's name is Colonel Wolf Yularen. He first showed up in the original Star Wars, Episode 4 in 1977. Hang on, let me bring that up. There he is. That's the character right there. Okay, so this scene, it's the scene where Darth Vader loses his cool during a staff meeting and strangles a coworker, something we've all wanted to do. Essentially, you have two guys arguing about the validity of the Death Star in what's essentially like the chief of staff. So all these dudes, all these guys, except for those two, they're just random guards, but all these guys at the table, they're like high-ranking Imperial officers. Why do I love this so much? I'm looking at this from a filmmaker standpoint, okay? None of these characters in 1977 probably had names. They're just British extras that got to be in a scene where they're featured. Now they're like the generals of the Imperial Army and military. They didn't think that far ahead about fandom and lore. They just needed this scene, and they needed the upper echelon looking type people for the scene. So we get all these characters here. There's only one in white, that guy, and only a couple of these guys ever have lines in the whole movie. For example, this guy right here, Mr. Sideburns with the mullet, he gets a line later in the movie.
We've analyzed their attack, sir, and there is a danger. Should I have your ship standing by?
One of those two guys, I think it's him. He had a line earlier or later. He has a line as well. That I think his is actually dubbed in ADR afterwards. Anyway.
Our scout ships have reached Dantooine. They found the remains of a rebel base, but they estimate that it has been deserted for some time. They are now conducting an extensive search of the surrounding systems.
These are just a bunch of actors in a scene. A couple of them happened to be there in the day where they probably shot some other scenes that they needed, like, hey, we need a general. Go say that line to not Peter Mayhew. Go say this line to Peter Cushing for us. Or, we need a different general. You say this line to Peter Cushing, because that line happens in the same room. Anyway, it's inconsequential. It's just a bunch of extras in costumes. And for the sake of variety, to make it seem like they're from different branches of the military, they said, you, Mr. White Hair with the mustache, you wear white. And then we as fans latch on to that. Okay? The movie gets big, and the fans latch on, like, who's the guy in the white? Why is his uniform white, unlike the other guys? And now that we have 9 movies, 3 cartoon shows, several live action shows. That guy, who is just some poor British bloke in a white costume, got a name. And then got a history. And then that character ended up being in the Clone Wars, in the Rebels cartoon, and now he's in the live action Andor. I think it's funny. I think it's interesting. I don't know why. I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know why I'm sharing this with you. I'm not really going anywhere with this. I just find it interesting and funny that a random extra in a movie from 40 years ago now has an entire character arc and backstory and lore. And in the original movie, he wasn't even a side character. It was just a random dude that people picked up on, like, that guy's wearing a white tunic and has a really cool mustache. Movies are fun.